I, 30-year-old male at the time, was happily married to my 30-year-old wife. We had been married around 6 years. I will refer to her from here on out as Sarah, not her real name. We traveled, ate together, and spent time together basically every night for the first 6 years of the marriage. During 2019, I started to see some warning signs that in retrospect should have told me something was up. In early 2019, I had to be out of town for work, a conference. The first time that I had ever been gone overnight from home without her. She immediately suggested that her friend might come over and even stay over those days. Now for context, this friend, 29-year-old male, I will refer to him as Mark, is someone she texted all the time. They were close friends, and I know for a fact had been intimate with before we met. I put my foot down and I said no, pointing out he never came over in 6 years except the one time I was gone. While she got mad, she respected my wishes to the best of my knowledge and the footage from the security cameras. There were other things as well that gave me pause, but for the interest of time, I will move on. Now we arrive at the end of 2019 as we were in a movie theater together. I noticed her writing messages to someone on her Apple Watch during the movie. This was very unusual for her to do, and the messages, although I can't remember them, were a bit strong for a coworker at a new job, but nothing overly sexual or romantic. I asked her about it after the movie and she brushed it off. Over time, her behavior changed, sitting away from me on the couch, changing in a different room, and so on. I start to wonder if I am being cheated on, or if something was being hidden from me. I felt tremendous guilt for even thinking about checking her phone for confirmation, feeling that if I do and I am wrong, there's no point in continuing to be married. After thinking about it for days, I decided to check it in January of 2020. Now her phone is always close by, and I don't know the passcode. Luckily, her watch is accessible, and she made the code our anniversary. What I discovered next was horrifying. Sarah and Mark have been discussing her hookups with one of her coworkers. They were mocking me for not noticing what is going on. Sarah was discussing how the idea of me touching her is revolting, and how she can't imagine having kids with me. We had been trying in mid-2019, so this was especially hurtful to me. Then I read the messages between Sarah and the coworker. We will call him Carl. Those messages were explicit, and Sarah showed more affection for him in every way than she showed me in the past few months, and each message told me a new revelation that hurt more. It said that a trip that she said was to console a friend was really so that the friend could meet Carl, and that she began changing in the bathroom so I wouldn't see the hickeys on her body, and that her therapist knew all about this and said that I should be made aware, but that she should be happy with whoever she wants. I stayed up till 3 or 4 in the morning reading these messages and taking pictures of everything. I didn't sleep that night. My jaw clenched so hard all night that it caused issues for months. She left for work and I was off that day, and my first phone call was to a lawyer. I went to ask him what my options were, and what I could say to her when I confront her so as not to do or say anything illegal. I waited for her to come home, reading over the messages to confirm it wasn't the worst dream I ever had. When I confronted her, I told her what I knew without revealing I had been in her text messages. I told her I spotted the hickey. A lie, but she mentioned it in the messages that I knew she was texting someone. She lied and tried to argue that it was someone else that gave her the hickey. But finally, I read a message from her watch. I guess what I expected was for her to break down and admit everything. Instead, she exploded in rage that I violated her privacy. The insanity and gaslighting of trying to convince me that I was the bad guy blew me away. She stormed out of the house and disappeared for 3 days, no communication as to where she was. Till this day, I only know a small part about where she went or what she did. When she came back, she told me she wanted us to try to fix things and spend some time together. It didn't go well. I caught her sneaking off to meet with him once again, and she foolishly left the watch behind, and I could read the messages in real time. I finally told her in February 2020 that I contacted a lawyer. She insisted that she won't sign anything until we attend couples counseling. I humored it, but it went off the rails immediately. After, I explained that we were here because she had an affair, but she argued against my word choice and claimed that affair was too strong a word. She also lied about the fact that she cheated on me before Carl, the married man, something I discovered at a later date going through her watch once again. She admitted her plan was to find an apartment, then hand me papers without me ever knowing what was going on. She even tried to blame the whole affair on me using, in the therapist's view, my disagreements as proof of my cold and uncaring demeanor. She gave an example, saying I did not immediately scream at my parents for a Christmas gift she didn't like or at her parents when they playfully made fun of her. At this point, the decision was made. I needed to divorce her as she will never tell the truth. We agreed she would move out of the house, and I even helped her find an apartment. Anything to get her out of the house faster. One day in March 2020, I watched the news of the pandemic come in and all the construction work stopped. Her apartment was almost ready, but it was being renovated. Now, there was nowhere for her to go, so I was stuck in the house with her from March to June of 2020. For those wondering, she has enough legal knowledge to know that leaving would make her case harder and might still have to pay expenses. Those 3 or so months were chaos. Trying to do my job and live in a house with the person who had wronged me and ridiculed me was unbearable at times. We tried as best as we could to keep it civil and not scream at each other every time we passed each other. Imagine spending 90+ days cooking meals, passing by and seeing no one else in the world but the person who ended your marriage and broke your heart. I was essentially locking myself in a room for 8 hours, then doing yard work or working out to avoid speaking with her. She moved out for the most part in late June once the world started to open up a bit, and had all of her items out by July. Knowing that I wanted the house, she definitely manipulated the situation to her advantage to avoid her being publicly shamed. Her family, to this day, does not know what caused the divorce. She didn't tell them the divorce was happening at all until after the papers were signed, and essentially forced me to pretend we were still together until then, at which point I told her to tell her parents, or I would. They never were asking me what was the cause, although 1 or 2 did wish me well. I never felt the need to tell them, as despite the pain and gaslighting she caused, I didn't feel the need to hurt them. Her parents never wronged me. Carl and Sarah didn't last. When I found out, Carl told her to leave me and be with him, but she tried to mend our relationship and he walked away from her, so she ended up with no one. Sarah and I rarely speak now unless it's absolutely necessary, which is rare. I've wondered at times if maybe I was wrong for not quickly outing her infidelity. The people who are important to me know the truth. I also never confronted or spoke to, for that matter, Carl or Mark or her friends who knew about all of this but never warned me. As for me, I found someone who was truly a good person and have a great relationship. I've never told Sarah as it's none of her business, much like telling her family about her cheating. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Until next time, I'll see you again. Take care.